You're on Run for the Hills with Amber Pritchard and Luke Hills.
My name is Luke Hill. Amber and I go way back. Started off in the film industry together, and we've had a great friendship thus far. How long have I known you? For like a year? Maybe.
Yeah.
It feels like it's been longer than that, honestly.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It's insane. Why don't you tell the people how we met?
How we met?
How we really met. What
So,
you did.
I'll tell them this first. I don't know many girls that are actually funny. Not many girls can crack me up like Amber can. So, ever since I met Amber, she's always had this goofy energy, obviously very kind, but I met Amber on the set of Outer Banks. So, I was working on set at the time, a part of the crew, and she was an extra. And I look up and I see this girl, like, just basically just walking across the set. I'm like, yo, who's this chick? And we ended up talking, and ended up being super cool. And ever since then, we both have a passion for the film industry, acting. We actually are both signed to the same acting agency, Millie Lewis, here in Charleston. And so her and I are both pursuing our dreams together. And it's a super cool friendship to have. And like I said,
And there is like a spinoff of Outer Banks. We can't really say what it is yet, but we're both on it. And that I don't know. Actually, I have no idea when that comes out, but we're in a scene together. I mean, that's pretty cool. You get to be on like a scene with your best friend.
definitely, yeah, it's going to be pretty funny seeing you and I. We're like looking like dancing like fools in that scene.
Yeah. So what else do you do besides, obviously, we act and we film together. What else do you do?
So I'm in real estate right now, and I've been doing real estate for about 7 months now. And it's a new industry I'm tapping into, but ideally my intention is to grow my wealth and then collect capital to fund my own films. And so filmmaking is really my ultimate goal in life, to spread positive messages, to influence people, give them new perspectives on life through film. So real estate is the vessel I use to build the wealth in order to make what I actually want to make. So I worked in the film industry for a while, and I realized that the people that actually have a grasp on the narratives and are actually able to control what the film or show is about are the people that fund it. And so with me, I intend on making films that are actually beneficial to consume. I think in today's society, there's a lot of television, a lot of movies that display just bad narratives that aren't actually beneficial to the consumer. And I realize that the majority of society, their attention lies on screens. Screens all day, every single day. If you're not on your phone, you're watching TV. If you're not watching TV, you're on your computer. And so how can you influence people? You influence them through the screens, which is why I got into this industry in the first place. I mean, you and I are both pursuing film, but everyone's pursuing it for a different reason.
Yeah.
Some people want to satisfy their ego. Some people want fame, fortune. But for me, it really comes down to programming people in a positive light.
Yeah. Same. I feel like that's what I want to. I want like, if I am in a film, I want it to be like based on a true story that like inspires people. And so like that's why I also want to do this podcast to kind of inspire people to share their stories, or, you know, to leave the relationship, or, you know, get any kind of help that they need. And I feel like you do inspire me. Like I feel like you inspire a lot of people with your words and like how you carry yourself. So I feel like you're on the right path.
Thank you. I do. I love what you're doing here, because this in itself is a positive program. You're allowing people to come on here and spread their perspectives and any wisdom that they've accumulated through their life, whether it be a lesson learned the hard way, a bad experience that they overcame, and they can offer guidance to those who listen. And so this right here, this is exactly what I mean when I say programming people for a positive way. It's what you're doing here. It doesn't have to be through some big box office movie. You can simply just get online and allow people to speak their truth. And that in itself is a very good positive impact to society. So I think more people should do things like this. And obviously, you're just getting started with this, but you continue doing this for months, years, even a whole decade. Let's say you stay on here for a long time to come. Imagine all the lives you'll touch,
Yeah.
all the people you'll change through allowing your guests to spread their wisdom. Everyone has wisdom. Every random passerby is living a life as complex and as vivid as your own. They have a story to tell. And podcasts like this, I think, are so cool because it gives people, random people, a voice.
Yeah. That's why I love you, dude. That's why I want you to come on.
I'm happy to be here.
So what else? So what you're doing this boxing thing, like what? Sorry, not boxing thing. You're going to be in a boxing match. So
I am.
tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, if you guys are watching on video right now, you may be able to see I got a black eye. I sparred last night, and so got it pretty rowdy in there. But I got into boxing. Yeah, I've been training for this event called Battle on the Bricks. It's South Carolina's largest boxing event. I've never boxed a day in my life before I started training for this 4 months ago, and so I'm totally new to this whole scene, but I've been learning a lot and growing super rapidly, thanks to my great teachers at Savage Boxing Academy and all my friends in there who don't take it easy on me. So I'm learning a ton. I feel as if I'm really excelling towards being an excellent combat fighter in a short period of time. Everyone that's fighting in this event, they're all amateurs. And so no one's actually a pro boxer. It's people like me who are who are pretty not cocky in a sense, but have a bit of delusional belief that they can win a fight. Like, I've always thought that about myself, but what I realized the hard way
you have.
is you'll get in that ring and get humbled real quick.
Yeah.
Muscles don't mean anything. Muscles don't equate to actual physical combat ability. It's actually a skill that requires training. And so I realized the hard way, like, you can have all the delusional belief in yourself that you want, that, oh, yeah, if I got into a fight, I could handle my own. But if you're not trained, the average Joe, good luck.
Yo, good luck.
You could be like, I've seen bodybuilders walking off the street thinking that they can win a fight. They get in the ring, they can't even last one round.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with it. And so I think as a man, in order to be a strong man, you have to be able to protect yourself, protect the ones you love. And I think every man should take fighting classes, if not boxing, something to actually learn how to protect yourself and learn how to protect your family.
I think it's also a good way to maybe like control your anger. Like if somebody is battling with anger issues, or self-control, I feel like maybe getting in the ring and kind of like, because you have to think about what your next move is, So I think, I think that would be pretty good for people who need self-control and anger issues.
It's so therapeutic.
Yeah.
Just like weightlifting. For a guy, there's not many mediums where you can express like pent-up energy. For me, like, I've always loved going in the gym and lifting weights because you can channel energy and exert it outwards through like a physical exertion or a really hard workout. You know how good you feel after you get a great workout in?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it's the same thing with boxing. It's like you can let that energy out. And I think therapy, in a sense, is another way of getting that energy out. I've never been to therapy. I don't know anything about it, but I know the fact that letting things go and speaking them is super healthy. Because, what you're not saying, you're storing.
Yeah.
And that gets heavy.
Yeah.
And so, therapy is one way to do it. Lifting weights, boxing, anything to get energy out, I think super healthy. It's like replenishing yourself with, emptying that cup that's really full. And whether that's a mental cup or a physical cup, it's like, get out there and exert yourself.
Yeah.
You'll feel a lot better afterwards.
Love that.
Mm-hmm.
So what were your thoughts on when I asked you to come on to do this? Like, obviously, I want you kind of open up about like what are some red flags for you, kind of relationships that you've been in, or like how did you feel when you heard that like I was doing this podcast about, kind of the title.
Oh yeah, the second you invited me, I'm down. I love things like this, and especially you being one of my great friends, it's like absolutely, like instantly, definitely. I'm happy to be here and would do it again. I think when you first told me that you were doing this, I was super proud of you because doing something like this takes a leap of faith. This is not something that you kind of just let me start this thing, maybe it'll work out. You got to go all out. Like this is a commitment. This is a risk per se. Doing something out of the ordinary. So I admire people that do things like this and have the courage to say, you know what, I'm going to start a podcast. You know what, I'm going to be an actress. You know what, I'm going to pick up this new hobby or whatever it is. That's kind of weird, or it's kind of not on the baseline normal thing to do. So I was super proud when I heard you were doing this. And I know you mentioned like, what are my red flags for girls? Well, for me in my past relationships, I've been pretty blessed to say like I have good exes. Like I have nothing bad to say about my past relationships. I've really, just been blessed to be able to be in relationships with good people. But in the dating scene, it's a whole nother ball game. So I've dated around. I've talked to a handful of different girls throughout my time. But honestly, it's like right now, it's not what I'm focused on.
Yeah.
At this point in my life, I'm 22, about to be 23, and I'm really just focused on myself and my legacy and my trajectory. And I think there's a time and place to be in a relationship. I don't think a relationship is always the right answer.
Yeah.
I think there's that need, or there's that idea that you should be in one. Like you should have a partner. If you don't have a girlfriend, if you don't have a boyfriend, then like what are you doing? You're a loner. No, I think it's quite the opposite. I'm filling my own cup first.
Yeah,
I'm making sure.
Yeah. We've talked about that.
Making sure I'm right first. And I'm building my proper foundation. Therefore, when I get into a relationship, I can actually care about the other person and give the other person energy that they deserve. I'm at a point where I'm building my foundation. I'm making sure everything's straight on my end.
I love that.
And I think that's what a good partner should do first. Make sure that they're set.
Yeah. That's definitely important.
Yeah. So red flags. Well, for me, I have a certain criteria for my partner. I don't want a girl who's partying all the time, because I'm not. I've been sober. I know you're sober too.
Yeah.
And at this point in my life, it's all about growth. It's all about personal development, becoming the best version of yourself. And so a girl who's partying all the time, drinking, going out to the bars with her girlfriends, and then saying that's, we're just having girl time, it's bullshit. And I don't buy it for a minute. And yeah, you can go out and dance and have a good time, but in reality, it's like, that's not going to be my girl. I mean, I trust my girl. I'm going to have faith in her loyalty, as I'm a very loyal person. But at the same time, I don't particularly enjoy going out and getting blackout drunk with a bunch of strangers.
Yeah.
And I don't think my girl would like that either, because I'm looking for a girl who's on a spiritual level, happy with herself and happy to actually not go out and intoxicate herself all the time.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not going to be weird about I drink here and there. But if your only means to have fun is to go and drink alcohol,
it's like not attractive.
It really isn't.
It's not. Like, I want some guy who's going to lead my relationship.
Yeah.
Like a godly man, like lead me where if we go out, he's not getting plastered drunk and I have to worry about how we're getting home, or if he's going to get too drunk and we're in a drunken fight, or an argument. Like I don't want to have to worry about that. I want to know that I can trust him and lean on him. So I completely understand what you mean by that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think as a man, it's your job to be in control.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to lose control all the time because you want to, experience the pleasure from drinking, I think that's actually a weak characteristic.
Yeah.
And so for myself, I'm practicing sobriety for the first time in my young adult life per se.
I'm so proud of you.
So it's actually really great.
Mm.
And the mental clarity, the energy. I'm on a 75 hard challenge right now, and for those of you guys that don't know what that is, just feel free to look it up. It's multiple workouts every single day, and it requires a lot of physical energy, and staying sober it's also a requirement of the challenge. And so I'm doing this challenge, and it's forced me to be sober. But after experiencing how it is to not drink alcohol at all for such a long period of time, I don't even know if I want to go back down that road.
That's what everyone says. I've talked to so many people, and like they always say that. I don't know if I want to get drunk again.
Mm-hmm. People start drinking because they want to fit in.
Yeah.
People start drinking because either it's a lack of confidence in their social ability to communicate or have fun or let loose. And it's kind of like a prerequisite. Oh, I'm going to loosen up with a drink before I get on the dance floor. That actually just equates to a lack of confidence. And that's an internal issue. That's not an issue you can solve by something external, such as a drink. And so you got to fix it yourself first. Figure out, why don't you feel comfortable going out to dance or talk to people or make new friends without drinking something that lowers your conscious awareness? That's something you really got to get to the bottom of. And I honestly recommend everyone to go out and have a sober night out.
Dude,
just drink water.
Just drink water.
And try socialize.
Are so smart. Like, that was so beautiful. You couldn't yeah, that was just really great.
It took me a long time to figure that out, though.
Yeah.
You're lowering your conscious awareness so you can stop thinking so much and get out of your head.
Yeah. I mean, it takes people a long time. I'm 31 and it took a while to realize that, especially like the people around me. Like, I realize like they're doing the same thing, and it's like, I don't want to do that anymore. Like, I want to grow. In order to grow, I had to get out of like some of the old habits that I was doing.
Mm-hmm. So. If you want to evolve, you got to let go of your past self.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to do that when your friends aren't evolving with you.
Right.
So I think a struggle a lot of people face is they want to evolve. They want to become better. They want to maybe even get sober. But they feel as if they do that, they're going to be outcasted by their friends.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you do have to sacrifice that.
Yeah.
I've sacrificed old friends, friends that weren't evolving, because you are who you surround yourself with.
Yep. Show me your friends. I'll show you the future.
Like, I love all of my friends. I'm always going to be there for them. But no matter the case, if I'm pursuing something, if I'm pursuing a better version of myself, I have to be ruthless with who I surround myself with and who I allow to influence me. Again, I'll always be there for my friends and people who are there for me. But you have to be very strict with who you allow into your life, because they have a major influence on what you do, your habits, how you think.
Yes.
Which is the most important thing that controls your destiny. It's your thoughts then turn into your actions. Your actions will then create your legacy. And so if you're around people who are infusing negative thoughts into your mindset or your perspective, like, you have to drink, or, let's go out and party every single weekend. These are all negative thoughts and habits that will only inhibit you and limit your growth. And so you have to be ruthless. If you have to be lonely for a while, if you have to cut off your friends and just be alone while you're evolving, that's a sacrifice I think that should be taken. You should do that.
Yeah.
It's not always fun, but you'll make new friends.
Yeah.
Once you evolve and become a better version, then you'll actually unlock better friends.
Mm-hmm.
But it takes that lonely season to actually get there.
Right. Yep. That's what I had to go through. I mean, I had to leave everything behind and start new to rebuild, because everything around me was it was terrible there, So here I am now. I mean, I've met you. I've met so many great friends. And I don't think I would be here doing this podcast if I didn't have you guys, like, to kind of push me along the way.
Yeah.
So I'm really grateful. Super grateful.
How was that experience like when you were evolving and you had to transform into who you are now? Was it lonely?
Yes, but it was like the best experience ever. Like I thought about moving again just so I could get that experience again, because it was such a spiritual, and like it wasn't even like yes, it was hard in a way, but I mean, I got to fall in love with myself again. Like I would put like sticky notes on my mirrors every morning. I'd wake up and like I would read these, and like it would make me feel so wholesome. I still, like, not every Sunday, but like I would go to church by myself every Sunday and sit there. And there was a lot of lonely time in there where like I could read my books and I got to spend time with my dog, and like, I wasn't getting drunk going out. Like I was looking for friends. Like, so I was sober looking for friends, and like it was just so inspirational to me. Like what I went through to who I am now is completely different, because like my relationship with God like is just so beyond me. Like I'm so grateful.
That's excellent. So you had to disconnect from who you used to be in order to reconnect with God.
Yeah. And I mean, I always went to church growing up, but like my walk with him, I wouldn't be in Charleston today. Like the story behind that, like, when my grandparents died, I was so depressed. And I was so mad at him, because I was like, why would you take both of them all within 3 months apart? Like, why would you leave my family in like shambles? And I was like at their gravesite and I was just bawling. And I was praying. I was like, God, I don't know if you want me to be here, but it feels like I'm not meant to be here. Like, show me a sign, like, show me the way. And I was a correctional officer down in Tulsa at this prison. And I get called in the office 2 days later, and they're like, hey, we got to move you to night shift. And I was like, I can't do that, because I was also running an aesthetics business on the side where it was like, that would affect my hours, especially on the weekends. And I was just like, I can't do this. And so I was just like, okay, God, there's my sign. And I was going to move to Boise, Idaho. And that didn't go, as planned. And I prayed. I was like, God, if this isn't for me, show me a sign. And she called me the next day and she's like, hey, my ex-boyfriend's moving back in. I was like, all right. And I was pretty much like packed up, like wasn't all the way packed up, but that was the move. Like I bought a Bronco because I was going to be out in the snow, like all this other stuff. So I was like, all right. And then my friend brought up Charleston. I've never been here my entire life. Didn't even hear about it. Like, wow. Yeah, crazy. And so I packed up and I met this girl on Facebook, like roommates, and how crazy it to go moving with someone you've never met before. We FaceTime, that was it. I mean, she could have been a psycho for all I know, but she turned out to be the most amazing person. She is like such an inspiration to me. Like the way she treats me, she is so loving. She loves my dog Sugar. Like I said, God brought me here for a reason. And like, sorry, I'm getting emotional, but like, I'm just so grateful that I'm here now. And
Wow.
I wouldn't have done it if I wouldn't have went through that relationship or lost my grandparents. And I also feel like they pushed me to be here. So
Definitely.
I never in a million years would have thought I would be on a film set or be sitting here telling my story. So.
Wow. Things happen for a reason. Everything that looks as if it's bad from the outside, such as losing loved ones or losing friends, can sometimes be the transformative piece you need to actually make a move or change something about your life. I think pain is one of the best ways to make a big decision or change your life in a way. You use that pain to actually transform into something new or go somewhere new. And you basically are looking at the loss of your grandparents as a blessing in a way. And I think that's great. I think that's how we should look at losses in life. We should look at them as lessons. And I think in a way when we lose loved ones, because we all will, that's a sign that we should go and start a new life, start a new experience, close that chapter, and go out and use the love and the wisdom that your grandparents per se implanted into you and actually spread that, because in reality we're all going to die. Every single person on this planet. We all have a ticking time bomb until we're gone. And I think the best thing you can do for someone like your grandparents who passed away, because it sounds to me like they were good influences on you, right? They implanted a lot of love in you, and I assume their wisdom. The best thing you can do for them is to take everything they taught you and then go spread it to the world.
Yeah.
And that might be at a new place, such as Charleston. It's like the best thing you can do to honor them is to appreciate all they did for you, but then move on.
Yeah.
Move on, go somewhere new, and all the love they poured into you, take it and pour it into others.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's so crazy. I went like whenever they died, it was his birthday, my grandpa's birthday. And I went, and obviously it's against our religion. I went and saw what is it? Like a
Medium.
yes, a medium. And first thing I do, I walk in there and she's like, if you don't leave the relationship, he's gonna kill you. No idea who I am or anything. And I was like, okay. And they were like, she was like later on, she's like, your grandparents want you to break the traditional curse. And I was just like, she's like, the generational curse. I was like, okay. And like, she already knew I was in an abusive relationship, but I'm just like, what? Like, that is so crazy that this medium knew, like I was in an abusive relationship. My grandparents weren't there anymore. It was insane to me. And like, I wanted to also kind of do this for her, my Nana, because like my grandpa used to abuse her when they were younger. And he stopped drinking, he changed his ways, which is a miracle. You don't hear a lot of people do that. But, I look up to them so much, like what their relationship was to, 64 years together, and they were happy. But yeah, crazy.
Wow. Generational curse.
Mm-hmm.
It's odd how, do you think that generational curse was influenced upon you?
Yeah, because my Nana was abused by by my grandpa, his mom and dad, my mom and dad, like there was abuse all around my family. And then it led to me.
And you think since it was around your family, you were like, well, this is just normal. Let me just, like this is fine.
I mean, I never saw it growing up. My mom and dad broke up like when I was like 1. Like I don't remember anything. So I don't know. And I never saw my Nana and Papa, but like, yeah, I didn't even know what she meant by that until, I started thinking about it, and I was like, okay. Like and every woman that has been in my family has gotten physically abused by their significant other. So
why do you think that is? Why do you think it was permitted?
I have no idea.
So you said that it kind of was a generational curse. I know that can be passed down, and certain negative traits can be passed down to the generations because, such as like lack of money. People are raised in a poverty-stricken family, then they then say, oh, yeah, it's okay to not have a lot of money. It's okay to, not be financially well off. And that will just trickle down through the generations.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I understand certain things being passed down, but, tolerating abuse, and you said you didn't see it growing up. And so, raises the question, why would you permit that? Why would you think that was okay? I mean, unless you had influences that told you that was so. Why do you think that
Like,
It trickles down to the generations.
like I heard stories, you know,
I
and like
see.
verbal, you know, a little bit of verbal abuse, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I guess I didn't pick, like, I did pick him, but I didn't know what he was capable of until 7 months later on down when I found out, okay, here I am flying around this room and I have bruises all over me. You know, like, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. You never really know somebody until you really know them. That's the scariest thing in the world. So I have no idea. And this medium said generational curse. I'm like, all right, it makes sense. I have no idea. Sounds crazy, but no idea.
What's it like being in an abusive relationship? Because I know you can fall in love with someone and then they can reveal their true self. But for me, it's hard to wrap my head around because let's say, like, I'll put myself in a girl's shoes, right? If I'm getting abused and, like, I love my partner, I love myself more
Right.
to then say, okay, I'm out.
Yeah.
And so I know that can be difficult for people who lack that self-love, which will then constrain them to being dependent upon the partner's love, and the partner can be abusive, etc.
Right.
So I think if you're going to stay in a relationship that's abusive per se, it's a lack of self-love. And I think that's why it's so important to go on a mission like you and I are of being single, to love ourselves first and to pour into ourselves first before we pour into anyone else. Because
Right.
if you pour into other people before you pour into yourself, then you'll be dependent upon others to fill your cup.
Right. Well, I think, it's easy to say, oh, because I didn't love myself. Yes, that could be one. But when you fall in love with somebody who you think you are in love with, 7 months, they show themselves like of who they want you to see.
Yeah.
You don't, like it's like a mask they're wearing. And then soon as later on it's too much, they flip a switch when they know that they have you. Because I thought I was in love with him, so I will say, like, yes, I didn't love myself enough, but I chose him over myself, and I loved him more, and I didn't know what he was capable of. And also, you have to understand, like, a trauma bond is like, it's surreal.
Yeah.
It's very real. And it's like when you're flying around this room and you're getting your hair pulled by this person who you love so much, you afterwards you take a step back and you're like, what the hell just happened? And then they're on their knees the next second and they're in your face and they're begging you, like, don't leave me. I love you. I'll change. I'll go get the help. And it's just like, holy cow. How am I okay? Like, he messed up. I'm going to forgive because that's the right thing to do. And you move forward. And then another 3 or 4 months goes by and then you're in the same cycle and it's hard to get out of.
I see.
And we're going to have a therapist come on to kind of explain a little bit more because I feel like I'm also kind of nervous to talk about it. Like, definitely in the first episode, I was nerve-wracking. I feel like I missed a lot of words. I didn't really go into detail as much. So, like, there will be someone coming on to kind of explain what a trauma bond is, the psychology behind it, because I'm not a therapist. And I have those resources I can give to people, but I'm not a therapist. So
Yeah. Well, it's hot and cold. 1 second you're loving, next second you're hateful. And that's a roller coaster of emotions. And honestly, that's a manipulative way to have someone fall for you because you're constantly giving, constantly taking, constantly pushing, constantly pulling. And it's like that roller coaster that gets people engaged into a relationship of like, oh, like I'm constantly thinking about this person, therefore I must love them. But in reality, it's not love. It's just they're always on your mind because they've enveloped you in this roller coaster.
Right. And I mean, it's a part of your daily routine with them. So like we lived together maybe like 7 months after that or something. Like, when we were boyfriend girlfriend, we were staying the night with each other every night. And it's like you're comfortable with them. So it's like you build this life with them, You wake up with them, you come home to them, you cook for them, that's your life.
Yeah.
And it's hard to kind of just like walk away from it. So
Yeah, for sure. And I think when you love someone as well and they show you a negative part of themselves, a part where they lack control or they have an aggressive or bipolar tendency, you tend to gloss over all those flaws because you have so much care for them. You love them so much. But I think a trap that many females fall into is the empathetic need to want to help people and want to change people. And sometimes as they sacrifice themselves and their own well-being in order to try to, empathetically like help this person who they see the good in, but there's a lot of bad.
yeah.
And I think that's a trap to be avoided because it's admirable to want to help others.
Right. And I think as women too, like we empathize for people more than men. And so that's probably why us women get ourselves in these situations because we feel so much.
Yeah.
When you see some guy who's like sitting there bawling, we're like, okay, love you.
I just think men who can't control their aggression, can't control themselves, are weak men. And I think people think, the very aggressive, violent man is the masculine macho, but I think a truly great man is a man who is controlled.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying a great man is a man who's not capable of violence, who's weak and docile. No, that's not a great man. A great man is a very, very dangerous man, but he voluntarily controls it.
Right.
I think every man should be capable of violence.
Yeah.
Completely, because in order to protect your loved ones and your family and your kids, you need to be capable of violence. But a man who cannot control his capabilities is a weak man.
Yeah.
And so I think in order to have a better culture of masculinity, it's like yes, everyone should be capable of violence. Everyone should be strong.
Yeah.
But it's not admirable to lack control. That's where the virtue comes in.
Yeah. And as you're talking about this, it reminded me like, I didn't put this video out to, belittle him or anything like that, because when I look back on the first one, I was like, like for some part of me, I still care if this will affect him. And like so many nights did I pray about him, hoping that, like he can change and whatever other relationship he, gets into, like he gets the self-control and he, does whatever he needs to do. But like I am kind of scared that people will, belittle him and bully him and stuff because like I don't want this podcast to be about anybody who's like kicking rocks at him. Like I've had a few people already message me and be like, who is he? I'm like, I'm not going to tell you who he is or, what he does or anything. Like, don't even ask because like, that's not what this podcast is about. It's about just sharing my story and sharing other people's story and what you can benefit to the situations and stuff like that. So I'm sorry, it just kind of reminded me, I just want to throw that out there.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I think it's just spreading light and spreading your story and your perspective and lessons you've learned. So yeah, it's not about, like creating drama, and whoever the person is, it's like they've learned from what they've done, and
I hope.
And they're, I think, I hope so too. I think people change, people can change, and just because someone was one way in the past doesn't mean they have to be that person forever. So just like you're empathetic in the sense like, oh, like, yeah, this person was bad in this scenario, but they have so much good,
Right.
you know.
And that was also hard to leave because there was so much good. It was hard to forget the good times because there was a lot of good times.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, but I think, just to avoid the trap to begin with, you can sense red flags from the jump.
I ignored those.
I think a lot of people do, but that's why I say be patient.
Yeah.
Be patient and be selective, just guard yourself first and be slow to move into things.
Yeah.
Don't jump into a relationship. A relationship is one of the most influential things you can be a part of. And so choosing your partner is a gigantic decision.
Right.
And not just like a partner for life, but like a girlfriend too. Like even if it's like a 5-month fling or whatever, that's very impactful. You spend 5 months in an intimate relationship with someone, they're going to influence you in all types of ways you aren't even aware of until a few months down the line. You still have a quirk of theirs that you picked up, or a mindset or a perspective that they shared with you. It's who you surround yourself with intimately that's actually the most transformative. So it's, I'm very, very selective with my partners and stuff like that. And I don't even, right now I'm not dating or anything like that. I have no interest in it because, again, like I'm building. But when I do get back into that scene, I'm just going to be very, very picky. And,
Yeah, we've talked about that.
yeah, I think it's best. Everyone should be picky.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's, not meant for everybody.
No,
No.
gotta pick and choose. No, I totally agree. I will say, like the cutting out a bunch of stuff in the beginning of the year. I mean, that was life-changing, and like I didn't know that I really wanted to do this podcast because people were going to see me with a lot of baggage. Like that's how I thought people were going to see me. People would judge me, that I didn't leave the relationship or I did this. And I went home to Oklahoma and I saw one of my friends, and something really bad happened to her that her boyfriend did. And I saw her face and I was like, oh my God. Like I have to do this. Like I have to be brave enough to speak this so people like that can leave. And it was just super, super hard to see someone that you love looked like that, that someone else caused that pain. So I felt like I had to do that.
Wow.
Yeah, and I had to, like, when I came back, I was trying to focus on it, and there was a lot of stuff that was going on social media, that, like, on TikTok, and you know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Yeah, like, it was a lot, and I was like, I have to cut out all social media because I was getting attacked on social media. I am friends with Zach Bryan, and, whatever happened with me and him, that's our business. But, like, Brianna Chicken Fry, like, put this picture up of me and him and was like, oh, she was probably just a hookup. Like, there was a lot of drama around that. And it was to a point where I was getting messages of people, like, sending me the most bizarre, insane things where I'm like, this is crazy. Like, how are you going to tell me to go kill myself? Like, what? Like, and so I was trying to focus on this podcast and do everything, but I was like, I can't believe, like, there's just all of this hatred right now. Like, this. And so I reached out to Zach and I was like, dude, like, like, these people are, like, they're going ham on me. And he, like, posted on his story, and he went, like, he was just like, don't talk about my friends like that. I'm not in a relationship. And we're not in a relationship. Like, we have a really good friendship. Whatever happened in the past 6 years ago, like, yeah, we have a past, but, like, that's nobody else's business. And yes, we did hang out recently. But that's nobody else's business what our relationship was with each other. But yeah, it was overwhelming. It was a lot. And so I wanted to delete social media to kind of focus on this.
Yeah. I can imagine all that hatred. There's a lot of hate in this world, and people use social media as a way to transmute that while remaining incognito. I think people, what they say online, they'd never have the courage to say in person. And people will make assumptions and jump to conclusions and think that they know you from one thing they heard, one rumor they heard. But one rumor, whether it's true or false, doesn't encompass who you are as a person. So I think people that hear things and spread hate on social media, they're just uninformed. They don't know you. They can't actually gauge who you are as a person. They can't gauge if you're a good person or not from one thing they hear. They'll make an entire assumption to act like they know you. And, I don't. What I've learned is on social media, when you receive a lot of hate like that, it's never about you. It's about the person spreading the hate.
Right.
They have a lot of pent up negative energy and they want to get it out.
Bunch of couch warriors.
Exactly. it doesn't mean anything bad about you.
Yeah.
It just shows the hater's character.
Yeah. It was a lot. It was overwhelming. It was like the anxiety of it. I was just like, I want to get rid of this. It was just causing so much anxiety and like my nerves. And I was just like, this is insane. And then whenever Brianna Chicken Fry posted that picture, I was like, oh, it's about to get real bad, because I don't even think I think I deleted social media at this point. I can't remember, but I had my friend send me, that she put this picture of me and Zach on her podcast. And I was like, oh God, here we go. Like, this is going to get real bad.
Yeah.
And it kind of did. And yeah, I mean, not dating him, really good friends. Have always been there for me. And so, yeah, I don't know what'll happen with that relationship. All I'm worried about is myself, this podcast, and other people who want to be on it and inspire. So, yeah.
There's a purpose behind all of this pursuit. I think that's really cool. And honestly, you turn that negative into a positive. You saw your friend in that knocked up shape, and you were like, there has to be someone who steps out and makes a change, who is brave enough to step into the limelight and share their vulnerability. And I think that's where true courage is found, is when you have the strength to be vulnerable and show that you're not perfect. In today's society, everyone wants to display a spotless facade.
Right.
And
yeah.
I think there's no strength in that. It's so easy to portray yourself as perfect, but true strength lies in showing that you are flawed and that we all are flawed. And it takes even more strength to actually reveal those flaws and showcase, you know what? Like, I'm not perfect. I have a lot of issues. I have baggage. I have past experiences that I'm embarrassed of, etc. That's where strength is found. And for someone like yourself who wants to share these stories and share experiences that aren't necessarily admirable or like experiences that people will look up to or be like, wow, like she's so perfect. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And there needs to be more people doing things like that.
Well, thanks, Luke. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So no one's perfect, but people can be courageous, and people should be courageous and show their imperfections. I think that's where we truly are beautiful as humans, is everything that makes us who we are. It's not, we're all striving for perfection. We're all striving for our best self. But the thing that makes people so interesting is everything that's not normal about them, not perfect about them. All of your weird quirks, all of my weird quirks, that's what makes us so cool. It's like, that shouldn't be glossed over.
Yeah.
That should be emphasized. where your weird flaws are and your unique takes and personality traits. That's where your true power lies, is in your uniqueness and your unique experiences, because you share those, and that's what actually helps others.
Right.
Offer your wisdom because you've accumulated it through experience that's not necessarily normal. So continue doing what you're doing. The weirder, the better.
You're so smart, dude.
Thank you.
Yeah, very smart. Well, I appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And, I hopefully we can get another film together.
Let's do it.
All right.
We're making movies for life around here. We in this for the long game. Yeah, no doubt in my mind we're going to be in something together, some type of film. But it's got to be jokey. Like I said, Amber is the funniest girl I know, so let's do